I decided to retire from the elite program after the Tokyo Olympic Games. Obviously, those Olympic Games ended up being delayed due to COVID. With a bit more time on my hands, I decided that I would probably devote a bit more time to helping the development program grow in Asia.
Chris， 當你退出教練行列之後，你並冇停落嚟，而且更加積極參加好多嘅公職。你可以為大家介紹一下你依家做緊咩嘢嗎？
In World Rowing, I am the development lead expert for Asia, which means I'm responsible for all the technical stuff in the development program within the Asian region. And I'm also a member of the World Rowing Competitive Commission. That commission is involved with technical advice for world rowing and including things like fairness at international competitions, seeding for international events, qualification systems and so on.
知道你係一個停唔落嚟嘅人，呢幾年你擔當咗咁多公職，係咪好忙碌呢？
As you know, there's a lot of work in world rowing available to be done. And if they will ask you, can you go here, can you go there? And in fact, in the years since I retired from the Hong Kong Sport Institute, it was a lot more actually than I was expecting. So for example, last year I did 30 trips related to rowing activities around the region and around the world, and 15 different countries. So in terms of actually traveling, there was a lot more traveling than when I was just working with the team here.
你做咗咁多亞洲區嘅發展工作，你睇到嘅亞洲賽艇發展係點樣嘅呢？
As we have here in Hong Kong, there's a lot of passion for our sport and for rowing around the region, but many of the countries are poorly resourced. They don't have very much money, and they rely on support in small programs for helping train coaches, run training camps, or introduce new things. And so it's very satisfying when you can visit somewhere and then you find that they have managed to take the program from what you've given them and move it on and advance it. I think particularly at the moment with this new discipline of beach sprint rowing, which has been introduced for Los Angeles, a lot of small countries in the region have jumped on that as something new, and also maybe they don't have good quality flat water rowing courses, but they've got plenty of beaches. So there's a really big growth, particularly in that area.
沙灘衝刺賽將會喺下一屆嘅奧運賽艇項目，亞洲各國都會投資去到發展呢個項目。你預期見到沙灘衝刺賽喺亞太區嘅發展係點樣嘅？
Lots of small countries have looked at beach sprint as a new discipline and thought to themselves, maybe this is where we should focus because classic rowing has 200 years of tradition and we're up against all those big European countries or North American countries. But I think still for beach rowing, honestly speaking, the big countries are already focusing very hard on that because it's become an Olympic event. Also, we know that there will only be for the whole world just over 60 places available to race in Los Angeles. So still, it's going to be very hard. But I think in terms of participation, it has provided a very good stimulus in those countries, but probably not so many of them in reality will actually make it to LA.
你退休之後會喺香港、歐洲兩邊走，依家你嘅 base 其實喺邊度㗎？
Hong Kong is still my home. It's been my home for 38 years or whatever since 1986 when I came here. So I still consider sort of Hong Kong my home. And I base myself here at least half of the year. I also have a house together with Faye in Italy, and so we're spending time there as well when we have time. And very often it's in the summer that I'm in Europe when I'm helping with world rowing events in Europe, like the World Championship, World Cup, and so on. So quite often it's Europe in the summer, and then in the spring and winter it's in Hong Kong.
COVID-19 影響到全世界，就你喺賽艇方面嘅觀察， 我哋呢一兩年嘅運動員嘅表現，你認為係咪有影響到嘅呢？
I think there was quite a lot of effects. First of all, obviously, programs were really suspended and there was no income and no money and so on. So, and I think Asia particularly was quite slow to bounce back. We were very cautious in getting back after COVID. We were still very careful about lockdowns, mask wearing, all of those things, whereas perhaps some of the other countries were quicker. But also, you know, athletes of a certain age, they lost their golden years for rowing because of COVID. So it was a really huge challenge. Looking back on it now, it just seems very surreal. But at the time, as we all know, it was very challenging. And I think we are seeing a recovery now, even in Asia, but still there are a lot of challenges, especially financially.
中國大灣區嘅發展好快，就體育或者賽艇嚟講，你認為要點樣把握呢個發展機遇呢？
You know, Hong Kong is a really small part of China, and so we are obviously, if we take the opportunities of the Greater China area, Greater Bay Area, we can expand our reach and our base, and also increase opportunities for exchange with clubs across the border, for sharing of knowledge, and perhaps in the future even for recruitment of athletes and so on. But definitely, we would be foolish not to understand that on our doorstep is a really great resource. And, you know, the developments in China are very fast at the moment. So, yeah, I think it's an exciting time for that as well. And certainly Hong Kong shouldn't have an insular view. We should take a very broad view.
中國香港賽艇協會發展咗40幾年，隨住人事嘅變更，你點睇香港賽艇未來嘅發展呢？
It's a challenge where, you know, in many countries, the Rowing Association doesn't also have to manage the facilities. Here, the Rowing Association is managing two quite big boathouses, and at the same time, they're having to act as an association as well and develop the sport. And I think that looking further ahead, especially with, you know, coastal rowing and other types of rowing, indoor rowing, all of those branches of our sport, we should be looking to expand the development and also to involve other parties in it. So, you know, NGOs, schools, universities, where we can build relationships. If we say that nothing can happen until the Rowing Association does it, then it will be very, very slow. So I believe that the way to speed it up is to incorporate development with other partners, but at the same time keeping our autonomy as the national governing body.
喺未來幾年，你會更積極去參加更多嘅賽艇發展工作，還是係會漸漸咁減少工作去做其他嘅事情呢？
Frankly, you know, I'm 63 now, and I don't think it's old. There's still a lot that I can contribute, but it's also important that we bring up others and that we pass the baton to others. And, you know, one of the things that I'm very keen to do is to, you know, sort of train up people to help and share and learn and be involved. And I guess, you know, over time, I would take a little bit of a step back gradually over, say, the next 4 years, because, you know, we never know what's around the corner, and things like our health, our family, all of those things are quite important. So, of course, gradually one would step back, but I'll never, you know, be completely away from rowing, because it's been the love of my life since I was, you know, 12 years old. Yeah.
喺過去咁多年，你有乜嘢嘅比賽同埋乜嘢人會令到你印象深刻難忘呢？
Those are really challenged questions. I think, of course, with the person, obviously, when I came to Hong Kong and then I met my wife-to-be, Faye, after we were married, she joined the rowing program, and she became a very successful athlete in rowing, having come from Olympic canoeing. And of course, our relationship and sport has been interwoven together for all that time. And I have to say that she was one of the people who brought money to the association in the sense that we'd never had any success when she started winning medals. That was the beginning of us receiving funding and then attracting more people and more talented athletes, coaches, and so on. So I have to say that that's one. The other one is tricky because I'm talking about you as the interviewer. But, you know, from the very beginning when I came to Hong Kong, I looked for someone who could help me and advise me and help me to learn about the local environment. And we've been working together ever since, from the very beginning until even now. And I can say that, you know, all of the things that we did in building the international high performance program, we did it together. And I think so. That's the other person that I would want to say. In terms of a memorable event, of course, there've been really many. And it's hard to put my finger on everything. I think, you know, the first medal for Hong Kong was the Asian Championships in India when Faye won the very first medal for Hong Kong in an Asian Championship. But the other sort of special ones were, of course, our first Asian Games gold medal by Lok Hwan Hoi. Because, you know, we raced in Asian Games, we won medals, but we were dreaming of that gold medal as being something that we had always been looking for. So that was very important. And then I think that the poignant or special one was the last Olympic Games. I just went together with Winnie Hong Wing-yan, and it was just her and me, and I knew that that was my last Games and my last Olympics as a Hong Kong team coach. And so, you know, and she was a young upcoming athlete. And so I guess that last race, and that was a kind of a rather poignant moment. And I can say I was happy to do that with a young athlete who was coming up, maybe not a superstar at that stage. But yeah, I think, you know, how I started at the beginning with developing athletes and how I finished at the end with a young athlete coming up. And I look back all those generations, I think that was also a special time, yeah.
對從未參加過賽艇嘅人士，你會點樣去介紹我哋呢項運動呢？
For rowing is a sport where if you love being out in the boat and out on the water, and you do it as often as you can, whether you're a novice or an elite, you will get progress. But what I would also say is I would really encourage them to be part of the community at every stage. You know, even if you retire, be an umpire, be a coach, get involved in the administration, join a subcommittee, join the board. You know, we need all of those new young ideas, and we need them to get involved in the whole rowing community, not just only being an athlete and then walking away. So get involved, I think, is the message.